This is another video about a Mini-perm. Excuse my voice and my cold. I'm in Mongolia right now. The Mini-perm, here's what we're going to do in this video. In this video, I'm going to, instead of going over kind of the structure and the theory, really, this is the mechanics uh, of a Mini-perm sweep. Now, excuse me for that. We're going to just create a separate facility. I'm going to create a separate refinanced facility at the date the Mini-perm changes. So or the maturity date. So we have a underlying amortization period. Let's make that 20. And then we say, well, we have a Mini-perm. Now, apparently, I didn't know this. I was kind of wrong. The difference between a hard Mini-perm and a soft Mini-perm. It all sounds like going to the hairdresser. The difference between the hard Mini-perm and the soft Mini-perm is a soft Mini-perm has a relatively long maturity. A hard Mini-perm has a short maturity. Now, in theory, we should think about why that, if that matters that much. We should really think about the theory of this a little as well. But this video is just about making a video. Now we need to make this sweep. We need to basically just do a lot of switches. Really, nothing more. And we need to adjust for this structuring mode and make a couple of adjustments to interest expense. So I don't think the mechanics are going to be very difficult, but I'm making this video so you can just we can look at a little bit of the mechanical issues as well as the theoretical issues. Now, once we decided on the structure of the facility, I'm using the downside case here to size the debt. And then I'm going to create this. And this is an enormous pain that is the subject of the next video is how to copy and paste it. Sounds so easy, but it's not. And then if we go to let's say we go to the base case, okay, then we have more space and everything's okay. But if we go to the worst case, that's way too bad. Let's go to the break-even case. And let's push the traffic down a little. We want to be able to do a break-even. And we want to see exactly after we have this low case, what could happen? How do we switch this to a cash flow sweep? I kind of did it too extreme, maybe. Oops. Let's push it up here. And how much would the traffic? Let's leave this, and we'll push the traffic down, the price down rather, and we'll refinance right in year 7, and then we can push our model down, and we'll have a default, and we'll see how long it takes for the debt to default. I explained that a little bit badly, but I was in working with a bank, and they told me that's how they want to do the Mini-perm. They want to be able to push it down and see how low you can push it down before you cannot repay the debt, or how many years does it take to repay the debt in a downside case. So that's what we're going to show you. I'm going to show you some of the mechanics of doing this. Okay, now this is a relatively simple model with just kind of a few different assumptions, and I might adjust the traffic growth and adjust the structure of toll rates or something like that later, okay? And then we have our assumptions, our operating assumptions, just a few different operating assumptions. And then when we get down to the financing assumptions, there's a underlying amortization period for structuring, a maturity payment for when you potentially switch this to a cash sweep. And then this date of the refinancing requirement is bad. This date would be E-date. I'm glad I didn't have it. And then we'll say we don't have a grace period. So we'll go up to the commercial operation date. I'm not sure I'm explaining this well enough. And then we'll go and say 7 years times 12, okay? That's our date of our refinancing. And we need this date very badly, because, I just unplugged my computer. We need this date very, very badly because we're going to use it in all these cash flow sweeps. So then we go to the financial model, and I'm not going to review really the operating analysis much. I put some conditional formatting, and I think we should put, as a review, some conditional formatting when we have our Mini-perm refinancing. Okay? And now we have our, this is the repayment, excuse me, and this is the initial Mini-perm debt. And then we need another facility. We need a whole new facility. And I put, in addition, by the way, and I put a defaulted debt and a default interest that we'll talk about. And then we have some total interest expense on everything. So in this case, we have a few different debt facilities. Okay, we have our Mini-perm facility, and we have the interest rate, and we did some sizing analysis on this. And then some defaulted debt in a separate facility that will be the subject of the next video, because getting a default in a credit analysis, I think, is a worthwhile and important thing to do. So now we're going to call this, I suppose, the refinanced Mini-perm with a sweep. And the very first thing to do, and it's a crucial thing to do, is put a switch for Mini-perm year. Now, I have seen so many models, where they put the switches in all one page, and I used to do that too. Okay, one of those models I put on a bunch of them probably have that. I have a new philosophy now. I hope you have open minds about this thing. I think we should put a lot of the switches exactly where we're going to use them. You don't want to look. That violates our transparency principle if we have to look all over. So the very first thing we just do is we put a switch. And when you put a switch, just as a reminder, this is kind of a reminder video, we put greater than or equal, and we put the first date, and then we go back up to the date, and I should have probably used more F4s, and we put a less than this date. And we could do some count ifs to test all of this. Now, I didn't have the generic macros open, and something seems slow on my computer, but what the heck. Okay, so we start with this, and this is, of course, I said switch for Mini-perm repayment. And let's put a switch for Mini-perm year, for Mini-perm period, Mini-perm refinancing. Excuse me. And that's a key thing to do. And we'll just go back to the assumptions page and get this. And oops, Shift Control 3. That we could get, I don't even want to talk about this debate about how many pages you have, but I can tell you something. When you're looking at somebody else's model, if you have so many pages, it makes life a whole lot more difficult. And then we can just take this whole area, and remember we can go to the home page, and if we want to show the period at which we're refinancing, we use a new rule, and then we use a formula to refinance it, and it's basically the same thing. And you have to be really careful with this, and I just learned this the hard way. And I want to say when this year, and I want to make sure this is allowed to go across the columns, so I press the F4, and I say, well, when this is equal to this, then we'll go and format it, and perhaps this time somebody else did this other thing. Maybe we'll do it as a, okay, fine, I'm not going to waste time on that. Oops, I think you used that color. We'll make it this color. No, that's a crap color too. I hope we didn't use this one. Watch that, we already did. So we want to really study what happens in this Mini-perm financing year. There it is. When I do this, I'm always afraid, oh no, it might not work. And then I'm making this video. And then we put our opening balance, just like we always do. And then we add, instead of adding the draws, we add the refinancing. And the reason I put it under the defaulted debt, which again is going to be our next subject, is if we defaulted a little bit, you're going to have to put all the amount of the debt defaults as well as your initial balance. You're going to have to stick all of that in the refinancing, and then you're going to put less repayment from a cash flow sweep. Okay, and then we'll put our closing balance, and then I'm going to put the same interest rate in, and then we'll put the interest expense. Okay, so it's all very straightforward, really, as we always do. I mean, I'm sorry to waste your time almost on this. Then let's take this switch we did. Let's take this switch and be really careful. When you cannot take the closing balance of the debt ever when you're going to do any sort of refinancing. You take the opening balance. If for some reason you had a repayment, a draw, you could add that, and then you better subtract how much you paid in the previous period. Okay, and then we put that in, and I have to put the brackets around it. Okay, that's how much we're going to refinance. Now this refinancing from the sweep, that comes down here. And there's going to be just a couple of very little issues about the refinancing from the sweep. We go down to the cash flow waterfall. I haven't finished putting the balance sheet together and all the rest of it. Okay, but down here, and we have to decide when we're going to do this sweep. Now, let's make this refinancing occur at the very, very end of the period. Okay, so I'm going to add another column, I guess we could put net cash flow, and it's almost not worth doing, but then we're going to put less sweep. Just a minute. I think I did it wrong. I was getting worried about whether the default should come before or after, but that's kind of ridiculous. We're only going to pay the sweep off, and then, so we put less repayment of sweep, refinanced Miniperm. Now there are just a couple of little issues here. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna not just fill in all the silly titles because I'm really worried about this. a video getting a little long. Okay, we can fix this later. Don't worry about this. Hang on. Oh God, you're gonna get mad at me. Okay, let's first put the refinanced Mini-perm switch. Why did this come bold? The first thing, we only do this when it's not fixed. In other words, if we only do this, excuse me, when it's fixed. When we have this is when we're in our credit analysis mode. When we fixed the repayments. And down here I have a little fixed switch. So a whole lot of this is just about switches, of course. And put an AND switch, and we have to be in our fixed mode. And then we also have to be in our Mini-perm switch, in our Mini-perm sweep, whatever I'm calling it. God, these names of haircuts are driving me nuts. But then we put it right here. Okay, Shift Control R. So if this is false, we don't put the Mini-perm in. We have no Mini-perm unless this is true. And in fact, I did something really bad up here. This whole Mini-perm switch, this is a big deal. We're switching things on and off. We better put this only, we're only going to do this Mini-perm switch also. Oh man, excuse me. If we have the fixed mode. And then what we do is we just say, okay, here we also have to put an AND. And so we don't ever do this whole Mini-perm stuff unless we're oh shoot, oh God, I got my okay. We only do that when we're in the correct mode. All right. So this Mini-perm amount that you're going to repay comes from down in the cash flow statement. That's the rule number one about cash flow waterfalls. Cash flow waterfalls, you take the numbers in the debt schedule from the cash flow, not the other way around. You can go to all these stupid classes you want, but that's the rule. You do the hard calculations down in the cash flow statement. And of course the closing balance is the opening balance plus the refinancing minus the Mini-perm. Now, minus the sweep. Okay, now let's go, excuse me for going up and down just a little bit. I'm going to focus on this. And then we have our net cash flow, which is any cash flow we have, and we have to take away any repayment of our default, and we add the, excuse me, I did it wrong. We take the cash flow, we add the default, take away anything we've already repaid for the default. Now this is a, whoops, and this is a subtotal, so let's put Shift Control E. All right, that's just not a shortcut, that's a shortcut you could make in 1 minute. Okay, and then you put in here, let's only do this when this cash, we're not going to sweep if it's negative. So we're going to take the maximum of this of 0, classic, and then we take the minimum of this maximum, this amount, and we don't pay any more off because we have to go to the Mini-perm, the Mini-perm sweep, and we see how much we have in the opening balance. Okay, there we go. But we only do this, we had better multiply this thing by our switch we put, and I think the switch is good to put right near the cash flow statement. Whatever, that's philosophy, but it's not really philosophy. It's whatever, it's style, it's not style. It's trying to keep the stupid models transparent. That's what you're trying to do, okay? And then we just have to put the interest on the Mini-perm in. And now we have it all very flexible, so this Mini-perm is not going to be, excuse me, and if you're going to, oh my gosh, if you're going to do this sort of analysis, you just want to start sweeping here. You just want to start sweeping in year 7. So I'm going to turn the video off, put the interest expense and all that boring stuff in because that's too easy, and then we'll put this in the graph. We'll put the cash sweep. We'll call that part of the cash sweep, and we'll just see how long, when we sweep this debt, how long it takes to repay the debt. And we'll see if the whole thing kind of works. Just a minute. Okay, so we have to do a couple more things. When we have this bullet repayment of the debt, remember what we do is we add up everything that happened before and then just multiply that by our switch for the refinancing. Okay, and then we switch, we continue with that, and then we could do the same thing. Now on this defaulted debt, we put a new line and put less refinanced defaulted debt. Okay, and it's almost the same. It is the same thing. You just put an equal sign and add up all the prior numbers and multiply that by the switch for the refinancing. Okay, and then finally, if we want to put this refinancing in our graph, we go up here, just a minute, and on this was the graph that had the cash flow sweep, so we put the initial sweep that we had on our first debt. Remember, this video is only really about how to model the refinancing. All the rest of this we'll talk elsewhere about. Okay, and then we kind of have this starting point. I gotta look at what happened here, but essentially you're gonna see just how long how we switch from the debt service, and then if we put a lower traffic in or something, okay, it should be taking a longer time. Excuse me, I have to make sure everything's working. Just a minute. Okay, so that's the idea. I'm going to fix a couple of things and then stop this video. So, this is how it's supposed to look, and if we put a higher price, we pay our debt off more quickly. A lower price, it takes longer. We see how long it takes to pay. We put the end date here, and then we have our whole kind of credit analysis for our Miniperm, which is, excuse me, we have a default here I'm going to fix, but sorry about that. And that's basically that. Now to do that, I had to do one or two little mechanical things. I said, well, I fixed this. I said, okay, well, let's put the switch up at the top. And I made a mistake on the bullet repayment. I should have put a minus. I don't know if you remember. I put the sum. Okay. And that's that. Essentially, that's that. Okay. I'm going to fix the default on the debt on our next video because this is too long.